Hey, Richard Bryce here, Tennis Hacker. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about low volley limiting factors. These are things that could potentially prevent you from hitting good quality low volleys. Even if you practice your volleys all day, every day, and get amazing coaching, these things can still hold you back. So I hope you find the video helpful. If you do, it'd be great if you give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel as well. Okay, let's look at a couple to start with. I've got the ball machine set to oscillate. It's just going to feed them randomly. I'm just going to be punching them back cross court. Now, the first thing we need to look at is the split step. I'm trying to be nice and low and wide. So this allows me to change direction and push off like that one. Now, normally I'd be trying to land this just after my opponent makes contact, but it doesn't work with the ball machine. So I'm just doing this rapid fire split step so that hopefully I can still spring and use the elastic in my muscles to help me react. Okay, so we've already had a couple of potential limiting factors right there with the split step and then the reaction speed, because you need to have the athleticism to be able to do a good quality split step, and you need fast visual processing to respond quickly. But I don't want to focus on those because they are standard for every single tennis shot. What I want to do is focus on things that are more specific to the low volley. So let's take a look at a couple more low volleys and then we'll go through them. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at is what my eyes and head are doing at the moment of contact. I'm trying to obviously watch the ball onto the strings. I'm trying to keep my head lined up with that contact point for and hold it there for just a fraction of a second longer to encourage me to get a nice clean volley. It's going to be the same on the forehand and the backhand. I'm going to try and watch it on and keep my head there for just a fraction of a second longer. The ability to track the ball onto the strings and ideally keep your head there just for a fraction of a second longer is one of the big things that limits people and prevents them from hitting good quality low volleys. And there's a reason for it. So there's a lot of different visual skills that are involved in ball tracking, but it's not just about the eyes, it's about the balance system, the vestibular system that lives in the inner ear. Your vestibular system is really important for spinal stability. It's really important for controlling eye movements. It's just really important for everything you do in tennis. But kind of lunging forwards with your head looking in a strange direction, trying to track a moving object is a really challenging thing for this system to do. And the reality is that a lot of players' systems just don't function at a sufficiently high level for them to play volleys in the way that they want. And this applies to a lot of the other strokes as well, but just because of the volley technique, it's especially important on volleys. So one thing you might potentially need to do is a little bit of training to improve how this system functions. Luckily, there's some really simple ways to do it. I do a lot of work with a stick like this with letters on, and just practicing moving my head, looking at the letter at different speeds. So kind of this direction is going to be really good for the forehand volley. This direction is going to be really good for the backhand volley, but obviously you can do this in all directions. The smaller the letter you can see and keep clear, and the faster you can move it, still keeping the letter clear, the better. But if you don't have something to hand like that, just use a ball. You can still get a good training drill looking at one of the letters in the logo and moving your head in different directions while keeping your eyes focused on that letter. If you'd like to learn more about that kind of stuff, I've created a free program that's going to show you a few other different variations of training drills that could be really helpful for your ball tracking on your volleys and other shots. I'll place a link up there and I'll place a link down in the description so you can check that out if you're interested. And now let's look at the next big limiting factor, and this is one that I definitely struggle with. Okay, the next thing that's really going to limit a lot of players is not being able to get down to the ball. Yes, we can drop the racket, but ideally we're going to be able to get down a little bit lower, and that's going to give us the ability to get more variety on these volleys. And if you don't have the strength, if you don't have the flexibility, it's going to restrict you. Now, I'm okay with the strength. For me, flexibility is my limiting point, and you can see that in the way that I volley. You know, it's okay, but it's not amazing because I don't get down as low. You know, when you watch the pros play, you see how low they get. That's why they're there, and that's why I'm here. But if I want to improve, it's not just about coming in and working the volleys. I have to work on my, strength, but especially for me, flexibility as well. So So these are shot prerequisites. We talked about the visual prerequisite before. Now we're talking about a movement prerequisite. You need to have the strength and the flexibility to be able to get down for those volleys. If you can't get down for the volleys, you lack those athletic skills, you're only going to be able to take your volleys to a certain point. This is just the way it works. So in addition to your on-court practice, you're probably going to need to spend a little bit of time doing some work off the court if you really want to improve. And the reason I make these videos is to help you understand this, because so many videos out there say, yeah, hit the ball like Federer in 3 simple steps, do this, and you're going to have amazing volleys or an amazing serve. And the reality is it doesn't quite work that way. Your body has to be capable of it, and sometimes that requires a little bit of effort off the court. Luckily, strength is relatively easy to develop. You've got lunges, you've got squats, you've got deadlifts, but a great place to start is going to be just body weight lunges. So if you're really not very strong at all, just working for, sets of maybe 10 up to 20 bodyweight lunges. By the time you can do 20 with full range of motion, kind of going pretty much down to the floor, then it's time to start adding weights and looking at other options, but kind of working on that full range. Something useful can be to do some of your lunges with your heel down, but then also do some of your lunges with your heel up to help strengthen your feet in a way that's going to be really useful for tennis, because obviously a lot of the time you're going to be reacting off the ball of the feet. So if you only do your strength work pushing through your heels, you're going to miss out on certain benefits. Flexibility can be a little bit more challenging to improve, especially when you're older, but the basic way to do it is to become strong in the end ranges of motion. So I could use the lunge as an example. I could go down into a fairly extreme lunge, and now in this position I could try and straighten my back leg, so I can tense my glute to try and straighten my back leg. So I'm trying to tense my glute and strengthen that muscle in this position, and then I could try and pull my back foot into the floor to try and strengthen the front of my leg. So now I'm strong that side and I'm strong this side, and potentially that's going to help you to increase your range. If I wanted to improve my ability to take my legs apart, I could stand in some variation of a lunge and squeeze into the floor to make the adductors strong, and then I could try and push away, so trying to push my feet outwards to strengthen the glutes going outwards. So that's kind of the way you would approach improving flexibility. Both strength and flexibility take time to improve. So depending where you're starting from, you might not necessarily be able to get where you want in the next 4 weeks. You might have to commit to this for a little bit longer, 6 months, a year, to get to where you need to be. But if you want to get better at tennis, you have to have the visual and movement prerequisites. There's no other way around it. So hopefully this video has been helpful. Like I said, I've got that free vision program to help you out. I'll place a link in the description. I'll place a link up there so you can check those out. If you want to learn a little bit more about brain-based training, which is what the vision stuff is about, I've got another video that's going to show you some different assessments that are going to be really useful for timing, so you can check that out there. If you've got any questions about what we've talked about, leave them down below. I'm going to get back to you as quick as I can.